John McTiernan's The Hunt for Red October is one of the most iconic Cold War thrillers ever put on screen, a film that marries Tom Clancy's meticulous techno-thriller style with the sleek, suspense-driven instincts of Hollywood action cinema. Released in 1990, the film arrived at a moment of great historical transition. The Soviet Union was crumbling, the Cold War was winding down, and yet American audiences still had a hunger for stories rooted in the shadowy world of espionage, nuclear strategy, and ideological brinkmanship. The movie does more than adapt Clancy's 1984 bestseller. It distills its complicated naval jargon and intricate political maneuvering into a gripping cinematic experience that balances action, suspense, and character-driven drama. At its core, the film is a story of trust, loyalty, and the razor's edge between peace and annihilation. Directed with deliberate tension by McTiernan, already well regarded for Predator and Die Hard, The Hunt for Red October stands out for its ability to make submarine warfare, which by its nature is slow, quiet, and methodical, into a riveting experience. The stakes are colossal, but much of the drama comes not from torpedoes and explosions, but from the uncertainty of what the characters believe about each other's intentions. The film's narrative centers on Captain Marko Ramius, played with calm gravitas by Sean Connery. Ramius is the commander of the Soviet Union's newest and most advanced submarine, the Red October, which is fitted with a revolutionary, Caterpillar drive, propulsion system. This drive makes the submarine nearly undetectable, capable of slipping past American sonar defenses and approaching the U.S. coastline undetected. The weapon is essentially a game-changer in the nuclear balance of power. At the beginning of the film, Ramius seizes command of the submarine under mysterious circumstances, killing his political officer and steering the vessel westward. The Soviets claim he has gone rogue and intends to launch a nuclear strike against the United States. The Americans, naturally, are alarmed. Enter Jack Ryan, the CIA analyst portrayed by Alec Baldwin. Ryan is the intellectual counterweight to Ramius, a man whose knowledge of naval history and psychological instincts about Ramius allow him to develop a radical hypothesis that Ramius is not defecting with the intention of starting a war, but rather seeking asylum in the West. Ryan's conviction is treated with skepticism by military and political leaders who cannot afford to be wrong. Much of the film's suspense comes from whether Ryan can convince the U.S. government and the Navy to give his theory a chance before a potentially catastrophic confrontation unfolds beneath the Atlantic. The performances anchor the film in a way that few techno-thrillers manage. Connery is magnificent as Ramius, imbuing the character with a weary dignity and the sense of a man who has outgrown the rigid dogmas of the Soviet system. His choice to defect is framed not as betrayal but as a moral imperative, a way of taking responsibility for a weapon that could destabilize the balance of power. Baldwin, meanwhile, gives Ryan a grounded humanity. Unlike later portrayals of Jack Ryan by Harrison Ford or Chris Pine, Baldwin's Ryan is unpolished, even vulnerable. He suffers from seasickness, he doubts himself, but he also possesses a sharp mind and an unshakable commitment to getting to the truth. This dynamic between the seasoned captain and the nervous but brilliant analyst gives the film its dramatic heft. The supporting cast deepens the tension and adds texture to the world of Cold War espionage. Scott Glenn as Captain Bart Mancuso of the USS Dallas delivers a steady, measured performance as a man navigating both the dangers of submarine warfare and the uncertainties of political decision-making. Sam Neill, as Ramius's loyal executive officer, brings warmth and subtle tragedy to his role, particularly in his wistful dream of one day living in Montana. James Earl Jones, as Admiral Greer, adds his trademark authority and gravitas, serving as Ryan's ally within the CIA. These performances create a network of perspectives that highlight just how precarious the situation is, with every miscommunication potentially sparking global disaster. One of the most impressive achievements of The Hunt for Red October is how it translates Tom Clancy's detailed technical world into cinematic language. Submarine warfare is not inherently visual. It is about sonar pings, torpedo trajectories, and the physics of underwater maneuvering. McTiernan and his team craft an atmosphere of claustrophobia and dread inside the steel corridors of both American and Soviet vessels. The production design convincingly conveys the machinery of naval power, while the cinematography uses dim lighting and close quarters to emphasize the isolation of the characters. The sequences involving sonar operators, listening intently to faint acoustic signatures, become moments of high drama. Equally memorable is Basil Polidori's stirring musical score, which shifts from ominous tones to grand, almost hymn-like orchestrations. The score, particularly during scenes involving the Red October, imbues the submarine with a sense of awe, even majesty. The music contributes to the perception of the submarine not simply as a machine of war but as a vessel carrying the fate of nations. Thematically, the film reflects the anxieties and ambiguities of the Cold War's final years. The Soviets are not portrayed as caricatures. Ramius and his officers are presented as intelligent, thoughtful men caught in a geopolitical system they no longer believe in. The Americans, for their part, are divided between hawkish suspicion and cautious diplomacy. The film suggests that trust is possible, but only through individuals who are willing to take personal risks, whether Ryan betting his career and life on his belief in Ramius, or Ramius risking everything to deliver his submarine to the West. It is a story that, despite its military hardware and espionage framework, ultimately comes down to human courage and intuition. From a pacing standpoint, the film is remarkably assured. McTiernan knows when to build tension slowly, letting silence and stillness dominate, and when to unleash bursts of action, such as the tense torpedo sequences that punctuate the latter half. The editing balances multiple perspectives: the Pentagon, the Soviet fleet, the American submarine crews, without losing coherence. This narrative juggling act makes the world feel expansive, while the submarine settings keep the drama intimate and focused. Looking back, the film also represents a fascinating cultural artifact of its time. Released just as the Cold War was dissolving, it can be seen as both a last hurrah of Cold War cinema and a bridge toward the geopolitical uncertainties that would define the 1990s. The film avoids triumphalism, choosing instead to depict its Soviet characters as potential allies rather than faceless enemies. This nuanced portrayal makes the film more than just a thriller. It becomes a reflection on the possibility of reconciliation at a time when the world was changing rapidly. Over 3 decades later, The Hunt for Red October remains one of the best adaptations of Tom Clancy's work and a model of how to turn dense, technical source material into compelling cinema. It works on multiple levels: as a suspenseful military drama, as a character-driven story about 2 men from opposite sides of the Cold War who find common ground, and as a meditation on the precarious balance of trust in international relations. In the pantheon of Cold War thrillers, it stands alongside classics like Dr. Strangelove, Fail-Safe, and The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Yet it is unique in its balance of optimism and danger, its suggestion that individuals of conscience can shape the course of history even when vast military machines loom overhead. McTiernan's direction, Connery's commanding performance, and Baldwin's grounded portrayal of Jack Ryan combine to create a film that is both intellectually engaging and emotionally satisfying. For viewers today, the film holds up remarkably well. Its themes of mistrust, miscommunication, and the danger of misinterpreted intentions remain highly relevant in a world still rife with geopolitical tensions. At the same time, its emphasis on human agency and the possibility of understanding across divides gives it a hopeful undercurrent. The Hunt for Red October is more than just a submarine thriller. It is a reminder of how much can hinge on trust, courage, and the willingness to believe in the better instincts of one's adversaries.